Okay, welcome everyone. Episode 5 of NBA on Tap. Got the usual guys here. New guest today. If you listen to the Jimmy Butler pod, if you listen to the Jimmy Butler Emergency podcast, a topic that we will be talking about today. We got. Should we just call you Nigel?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, yeah, we got Nigel here. So they're gonna be with us today. And we got Mang and Jimmy, as always, and your host, yours truly. So today for the teams, we're gonna be talking about the Trailblazers and Denver Nuggets. But before that, gonna recap real quick on what we talked about last time, and we're also going to discuss some of the newest Jimmy Butler rumors since the last time we recorded on the Jimmy Butler emergency pod. So last time we talked about the Timberwolves and the Thunder. That was pretty amazing actually. Like right at the end of that podcast, I think no, it was Shams who broke the news. I'm pretty sure Shams Charania like broke the news about Jimmy Butler requesting a trade out of Minnesota, and we were literally and like what was funny, and we brought this up in the emergency podcast too. Is that what's funny is that Ming was was talking about maybe we should act like Jimmy Butler's not going to be on the team, and seems like that's what's going to happen. So it's a pretty dang good ring read by Meng there. So hats off to him. We also discussed their new and in lesser news we discussed their new pieces. Tips of status with the team. There's not going to be much status with the team very soon. I'll tell you that right now. And then potential lineups that the Timberwolves can run that don't involve Butler. And we also discussed the OKC Thunder. Talked about the Dennis Schroeder Westbrook duo and the potential that kind of has on the court in depth, how it can work. We talk about small ball and different sort of lineups they can run, the impact of Andre Roberson, potential locker room issues Schroeder could have, and another off-season acquisition. So go take a listen to that if you haven't heard it already. All right, so before we get into like the Trailblazers and Denver Nuggets, let's actually start with the Jimmy Butler rumor stuff. So looks like the status with it now, and Woj talked about this in a pretty recent article to the recording of this podcast. Basically, what's going on is that Tibbs, for some reason, still thinks that he can keep Butler around and wants Butler to report to practice, like baby come back or something. It's the guy just needs to let go, I think. But you know, there's always a chance. And right now, it kind of seems like Minnesota's asking price is just too high. I can see a lot of parallels here with the Kawhi situation. Um, but anyway, uh, let's go around the horn and talk about our opinions on the situation, what we think is going to happen. I'll start with you, Jimmy.
I mean, I don't know. If just all the developing news, you thought at first you think like maybe Phoenix gonna get in with a 3-team trade with Miami potentially, but then you just hear about the whole how what Minnesota wants, and I think it was in the Woj article where it said that like I think it's Tibbs trying to internally like not trade Butler as much as possible and not wanting to because
Right.
if he's gonna stay, he wants Butler there,
Hmm.
and if he trades him, that's effectively saying like I don't want to be here, I'm done, you're gonna want to fire me. So for me, I guess I just feel like for all this, he has to get traded, but like you have to probably fire Tibbs first.
Yeah, I think like what's interesting with the three team stuff is that like they're trying to get a lot for him, and it's kind of just in a position where the guy asked for a trade like right on the eve of training camp. Like teams are gonna be lowballing you because that's all they can really do at this point. And
But
so yeah, they just put themselves in a really bad situation with like breaking this news like right before training camp started. And it kind of seems like what Tibbs is trying to do is like, well, we need this much to be able to send them off anywhere. And then they know they're not going to get that much, so they're just going to try and use that as an excuse to keep him on the team. I think Glenn Taylor's not going to rock with that though. I think Glenn Taylor at some point is going to end up losing his patience and pulling the trigger of, okay, let's just trade him for I don't know, like Justice Winslow and filler for like Butler and Gorgie Jang, like which wouldn't even be that bad because I think Justice Winslow's a pretty good player. But like,
Yang's an awful contract, though.
yeah, that too. But like,
but the Kings want him, so
Yeah, they want to unload. They just want to unload that contract. Though, is the thing.
I mean, like, you can actually make a trade work with sending, like, this would be an amazing haul for Mini if they got Dragic and, say, who are you talking about there? Winslow? Yeah, you could send, yeah, you send that to Mini. Mini sends Butler to the Heat. Dieng goes to the Kings, and Kings send back filler. It totally works. And I think all the teams would almost be happy with that.
Guarantee they wanted at least Josh Richardson and probably OG from, well, not OG, Bam from Heat.
They're
The
not
Heat,
getting
probably.
that.
They're asking too
They're
much.
not getting those
Well, yeah,
guys.
They're not.
that's
They're
what
not getting
asking,
Josh
but
Richardson
that's
or
what they
Bam.
want.
That's for
They
sure.
want like that's what they want from like the Heat pretty much. Like they're like May wins them, but we want these two. And it's like you can't have those two.
Yeah, and that's. I feel like the Heat are both going to be willing to part with
because the
Goran
Heat are
Dragic
stuck with
and
the
Justice
Whiteside for
Winslow.
a long time.
Yeah, and even like even sending off both Winslow and Dragic would be a lot for the Heat. I think.
Yeah, I think the thing is the Heat. I think Winslow isn't really showing that much potential anymore. And I think that's why the Heat would almost be fine shipping him off, just kind of almost as filler. And getting Dragic's contract off the books would be pretty good for them as well.
Yeah,
Yep.
but if you're the Timberwolves, then like I think Winslow could be kind of interesting just because maybe you give him a chance and he can make a jump or he figures out
Yeah.
his shooting because he's shown flashes of it before. I think.
Yeah, I
but-
think Winslow is someone you want beside Wiggins and Cat.
Yeah,
both
he's but
people who
because
can
the guy's a dog on defense and like
He's
you can at least
he's an
have that.
absolutely capable defender. I don't know if he's ever going to get a shot down. That's the thing you're worried about with
That's
Winslow.
fair.
So you always want his shot to. You always wonder when a shot's going to come around, and it might not.
I mean, but maybe he can become Andre Roberson or something. I don't know.
I mean, he definitely can become that, but that's still not like what you expected of drafting someone that high.
That's fair. Yeah.
And what do you had? What hopes you had for him when he came into the league? It was not to be Andre Roberson. It was to be a lockdown defender and be a competent scorer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So like in that case, it'd be a little bit disappointing for the Heat. But if he just ends up becoming Andre Roberson, and maybe the Wolves have a use for him, just the Heat would be disappointed and will ship him off. So I guess that makes sense.
Bear in mind, Justice Winslow this is his extension sort of season, and he might be asking for a lot more than you want to pay him.
Oh yeah, that's a good point too.
Could there be like an unexpected All-Star that's available the same way DeRozan was?
I don't think DeRozan was like Okay, it was kind of unexpected, I guess.
Well, I mean, the Raptors were always looking for an opportunity to retool.
That's fair. Yeah. I think that's a good question to ask actually. If like there might be an unexpected All-Star available that we could see thrown into this. Like let's look around. Let's look around the league and see. Like who do we think could be that person possibly? I'm like not seeing it currently, but
Yeah, I think most of the All-Stars in teams that aren't really competing are young players on rookie contracts, so they're not moving.
Right.
What about Kyrie?
I don't know why I don't know why Boston would do that.
Because he won't resign.
Neither will Butler.
Kyrie did say the other day, "Why would I leave this?" I'm a little bit more sold on Kyrie staying after that, but I'm not like completely sold on it. I still think that in the time frame of this like Butler trade happening is not there haven't been enough signs to show that we should lose all our confidence in Kyrie perhaps re-signing here. And also if you trade Butler for Kyrie, it's like what if they just go and team up together the next season anyway? So you'll end up losing him.
Yeah.
So I don't know about that. So right now I'm kind of looking, not exactly feeling any All-Stars who would perhaps be moved.
Yeah,
that would match contracts.
when they do move, we're gonna say in hindsight that it was extremely obvious, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, we are gonna end up saying that actually. Shoot, I don't know if Houston could get anything done. No, I don't think so. I don't know, but we'll end up finding out about the Butler stuff. Yeah.
Actually, talking of what we were the Taps going to move on to, CJ McCollum might be available.
See, I don't know if I feel like if they were to trade for Butler, they'd want to pair him with those two, because I feel like they wouldn't be taking much of a step forward if they just traded CJ McCollum for Butler and like filler.
I mean, I think Butler's a lot better than McCollum, especially on defense, where you're swapping a guy who's like, barely over 6 foot for a guy who's like a really competent defender if he doesn't have to run the entire offense, which Lillard should be doing.
For years, I've been saying, can CJ and David together win a championship? I'm not sure they can because I don't think that defense is very good, the back court, and that's kind of what you need in this league sometimes. You need really good backcourt defense.
I mean, they can barely make out the first round.
Especially in the West, like all the backcourts over there, like you need backcourt defense.
Yeah, that's intriguing. That is definitely intriguing. So maybe it's something to keep an eye out for. But I don't know. I just find it hard to think that could happen. I really want to see the Pelicans make a move, but they haven't been mentioned in any of the rumors.
And they have no assets.
Yeah, like they don't have any players that would like make Minnesota think, oh, we can take this and maybe try to make the playoffs. Like you can't just like send in like Etwan Moore and filler and like have Minnesota not laugh at that. So. And it's probably gonna be somebody's probably gonna have a better offer. I don't know. Do you think the Lakers could try to ship off one of the young guys? Well, it would probably take they'd probably try to like oh no, never mind. The salary doesn't work. That's right.
Yeah, we've gone over it.
Yeah,
if the Lakers
I
want
just
to
remembered that.
Butler, they have to trade 2 of Lonzo, Ingram, and Kuzma. So not happening.
Yeah, it's not happening. What about the Sixers?
They
don't want to give up their assets for that.
By journalists saying they don't want it. They don't want any piece of Butler.
I mean, if you could make like,
I heard they wouldn't mind having him, but they don't want to give up what they would have to go.
Exactly. The thing is like, Minnie's gonna pick up the phone and be like, "Okay, we want Sarge or Fultz," and then the Sixers are gonna hang up.
I mean, if you took like a Fultz and like Covington or something, then I mean, unless you have to dump not Goran Dragic, but Gorgie Jang along with that, I mean, I consider it at least. But anyway,
it just sucks because he can't stay in Minneapolis. He can't stay there. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah, he just can't. He has to get sent somewhere. But right now, it's just kind of hard to read like who's going to get him.
No one's willing to pay what he's supposedly worth to them.
I feel like Glenn Taylor is going to end up snapping and trading him for like something that people might either laugh at or be like, oh, huh,
Yeah, well, the thing is about Butler's worth is in a year's time he's going to be on a $40 million a year contract.
Right. And like a lot of teams aren't going to want to sign him to that though.
Exactly. So this is just a rental unless you want to overpay him.
Right. So, hey man, I just it's just hard to read like where he might get sent at this point. I just think at some point Glenn Taylor has to be like, we can't keep this guy around. We got to send him somewhere for something, or else we're just gonna have Cat and Andrew Wiggins, and we're not gonna be a playoff team if we leave that going for too long during the regular season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think the Heat have the best chance at the moment just because they're the most desperate.
Yeah, I agree.
And they have a lot of nice assets that are win now.
Yeah, like Dragic, I guess.
And like Heat aren't just desperate to win, desperate to reduce their cap. So they don't even mind if Butler walks.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, it's just hard to see like who might really be in the sweepstakes besides the Heat. But well, they have to trade him like before the regular season starts at the very latest, right? They have to.
Well, if they don't, then he's probably gonna sit the entire regular season until the trade deadline.
No, I'm assuming that he's gonna sit. Like if they hold on to him until the regular season, I'm assuming that he's just gonna sit. But
yeah, like he can't play on the same team after the beef with Wiggins' brother and this shit with Cat's girlfriend.
And like apparently how Cat said he just can't coexist with the guy, and he signed his extension. So like by him signing an extension, that must mean that like they promised him that he wouldn't be around the team anymore.
Yeah, that's a real big dick move by Cat.
So this all goes back to Thibs, because he has to manage these people.
Or somebody's gonna have to once Tibbs gets fired, but
Well, once Stubbs gets fired, Butler is gone too.
Yeah. Well, he should get fired before Butler's gone, I think.
I think if he doesn't get Butler dealt, he's gonna get fired.
That's what I think too.
Or he's gonna resign.
He's not gonna resign.
Yeah, he's not. He's making too much money to resign.
All right.
Yeah. So I feel the point I was trying to make about them having to deal him before the regular season starts is that like if they they basically just take this team and like Butler's like still on the roster. So like if you kind of have like last year's team like plus Anthony Tolliver, I guess, plus whatever draft picks, then
Well,
like
yeah,
I'm
I'm pretty sure I saw a stat last year that the T-Wolves were over 21 points better when Butler was on the floor than when he was off it.
yeah. So like my point is that like if he's just gonna sit, and they're gonna have to let him sit because Cat signed that extension, and I'm pretty sure they must have promised him to not have him around the team. Then they just have a hole in Jimmy Butler's place, and they're just gonna be not good. So if you let Jimmy Butler if you only trade Jimmy Butler like right before the trade deadline, the Wolves are gonna be like well below 500 most likely.
Does anyone think Jimmy Butler's gonna get that max deal?
I mean, how much money is he able to get? Like if he signs?
I mean, he's getting paid a lot for being pretty old for a basketball player.
Yeah, Jimmy Butler is eligible for the 30%, but he'd get bird rights if he was traded to the team he resigns with, which under the next cap is gonna get to 40 million by the end of the contract a year.
Right. Okay. So wherever he goes to, I feel this way. Wherever he goes to, he's gonna play his ass off because he wants to get paid. The problem is, I don't think he wants to pay him that much money.
Yep.
Like that's the bottom line. That's what I feel he's gonna end up like. Especially all the max contract. I think you're straight for Jimmy. And I think you're a competing team. And you think that's what's gonna get you over the hump. You trade for him, have him play his best basketball he can for that 1 year, and then you maybe resign him, but you probably aren't going to, and he probably won't resign somewhere for the max anyway. So,
right.
Well, bear in mind, if he signs elsewhere, then he can't get the bird's rights raises. So that's only like 5% raises he'd be able to get in his contract. So it wouldn't look as bad if a team that didn't trade for him signs him. But then, if you trade for him, you can say, look, that's the max we're going to offer too. It's risky, though, asking someone to take a pay cut when you traded for them.
Yeah, it is. Especially if you want to keep him, then that's a dangerous game to play. But
that's what I think. I think you have to just assume you're going to go for a win now, and hopefully in the 2019 free agency class you can find someone else.
I mean, not every team can sign like Jimmy Butler plus whatever free agent comes out in 2019 free agency class. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying like even if they don't keep Jimmy Butler, if he leaves, I think there's still players out they can sign that will not like. I mean, I'm just saying like because if they're going to assume they're only going to sign Jimmy Butler and they can't re-sign him for next year, I don't think they're banking on that to begin with. Usually teams are going to probably bank on that at all because I don't know how many teams he's willing to either sign or extension with. It keeps changing every few days where he wants to go, where he wants to resign. So I think maybe his agent is telling him just to say these things so that maybe makes it a trade easier.
But isn't it still just he didn't go beyond the Nets, Knicks, and Clippers, right?
Heat.
I think it's just the Heat are interested in Butler. It's not that.
I think that's what that was. I think
like he told his agent or like some people that he would be interested in re-signing with the Heat.
Yeah, because it's also like even if you want
every team that's been interested in him seriously has he said that I would be open to resigning there because he wants to be somebody that's nice and he wants somebody that has money. New York or LA, and they're like, oh, Miami's like, oh, well, we can be one of those places, so why not? And they have Dwayne Wade, so
yeah, Dwayne Wade would be a factor, but yeah, I mean, he's not going to stay in Minnesota, so they might as well just keep some value before he goes completely.
Right. It's just that like they had to trade him soon because they got to go into the regular season with something.
Yeah, they do.
Instead of like an empty hole where Butler was supposed to be, because he's not gonna play. You have to get something, or else if you just decide to hold him and trade him by the trade him at like the trade deadline, something like that, or just let him walk, then the Wolves aren't gonna make the playoffs. They have no shot, and they're gonna be like well below 500 or something like that. So they gotta do something.
If you guys are the GM of the Timberwolves, what is like the bare minimum you think you need to get for Jimmy Butler?
I feel like I need to get somebody who can slot in at his position, or maybe I can move Andrew Wiggins to the 2. I don't know.
I'd like D'Angelo Russell. Just that will be enough.
You said what?
D'Angelo Russell.
Oh.
Yeah, I think what I'd be interested in getting is like not an elite point guard, but a point guard below that. So yeah, it's because it means you can trade Teague away, who is worse than Tyus Jones at running the team.
I agree. I think as long as I can get a good point guard who's at least a little bit better in Teague, or at least an interesting young guy, that's all I want. And then I just go.
Would you guys want
to
to pick or no?
No. I'd probably try to negotiate a little bit for a protected pick at least. So.
I feel the same way. I guess I feel like you'd have to get at least some sort of like young, like player that you can at least see being a starter for your team, like right then and there. Like that's what I would say. You have to really have to get a starter for him for your team, and it has to be a player that you think is also be young. Because at that point, because for the Timberwolves you need more. You just need to keep getting younger players because at this point, because I mean, Cat and Wiggins are not super old. Wiggins like 25, I think now.
Yeah, you've got to think in terms of how long they have control over those players.
Yeah.
4 years left on Wiggins, 5 years left.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can. I would just say get a little bit younger because at this point you still have time to like get to that point. So, like, it doesn't have to be some outstanding player right now. You get for him. Get a player you can see starting and be a great starter for you in a couple of years probably, and so you can be there because right now you're probably not gonna beat the Warriors anyways, no matter what you get. So, why not plan for 2 years from now?
Yeah, but the thing is, the standard of good for a good young player that is the highest we're getting is about D'Angelo Russell. It's not a high bar.
Yeah. That's all good points. Let's go ahead and move on to the Portland Trailblazers. That's been a good amount of time on Butler. So just to talk about some of their offseason moves, the Blazers signed Seth Curry, the brother of Stephen Curry. The deal is going to be guaranteed for at least $2.75 million in 18-19. Second year is going to be the player option. They drafted Anthony Simons, let Ed Davis walk, signed Nick Stauskas, and signed Yusuf Nurkic for 4 years, $48 million, I believe.
53.
53. Okay, 53. Yeah, I saw a 48 on Basketball Reference, I think. And then yeah, so those are pretty much the moves. They didn't change too much. So any just general opinions about their off-season moves? I'll start with you, Nigel.
I think Seth Curry is a pretty interesting acquisition.
I agree.
I was like, yeah, he took a big leap in Dallas the year before, but played most of the season and had that horrific leg break near the end of the season.
Yep.
So he's coming back. It doesn't look like it's a sort of injury that's going to impact you too much, not like an ACL, but he's kind of got those glass ankles like Steph, but. There's that player option going to bite them in the ass, but it's a low-cost deal, and he is actually a really good backup point guard.
Yeah, I think he'll fit in where Shabazz Napier, though in the whole.
He'll be much better than Shabazz Napier in that role, I think.
Yeah. I think there's definitely lineups where he can probably play with Dame too, but we'll talk about lineups later.
For the money they're paying him, yeah.
Yeah. What about you, man?
Yeah, they didn't change much, but. They're just such a young team that maybe they're expecting. They don't feel like they need to improve that much right now. So it's not. They're not big improvements, but Dame is still 27, and he really improved last season. He went to another level, and Nurkic is still 23, so he's still got a lot of growing to do.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Jimmy?
I don't mind the moves. I think the Seth Curry move is an interesting move. You're paying him not very much, but if he is better than you expected, he probably will walk and get paid more.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. And I don't like the Ed Davis walk because just kind of, I think he was a pretty good player for them.
Yeah.
But you got to resign Nurkic obviously because that's like the guy you trade for, or I think that's right. They trade for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Last year.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
they
you
actually got a really good deal for him. They got a first round pick and they dumped Plumlee.
Yeah. So yeah, I think all around they're a pretty good moves for them. I mean, it's just a team that you kind of know they're going to be there probably in the playoffs, but you just don't know if they're going to be any sort of of consequence, like a team of consequence in the end. So yeah, they do what they can.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit critical of them not trying to make a few more bolder moves, as in let's try this and see what happens. I know it sounds
Beyond
kind of
trading,
silly.
what could they do though? That's like a bold move.
They could trade for Butler.
Yeah,
yeah.
There's that. I would have shopped Dame or CJ around just to see what they can get. Because I think at this point, the way you're building your team, this team is being built now. I think they're just kind of destined for playoff mediocrity as long as this is their core. So, if I want to try to at least advance to the second round, then I want to try something different at least. That's why I kind of trash on the Raptors for not being able to keep stars and then trading the only one that was loyal to them and DeMar DeRozan. But I do respect what Masai Ujiri did there, just by trying to switch things up and change things because clearly the whole core wasn't working. So if they just kind of want to stay the same, make the playoffs every year, which we're probably gonna make it again, and if the injuries aren't a problem, stay the same, make the playoffs every year, do that kind of thing, stay consistent. Then yeah, if you're cool with that, then if you want that's what you want your franchise to be, then that's completely fine. You don't have to be championship or buzz, especially not while the Warriors
the problem
exist.
is that they can't trade Dame. Dame is the face of the franchise, and if they traded him, the GM would be put on a pike.
Yeah, and I think ticket sales will probably suffer too.
Oh yeah, and I think the other thing is nobody really wants CJ McCollum. He's just not a really valuable type of player
Just not
in today's NBA.
How?
I think CJ McCollum's pretty damn valuable. I mean, he's one of the
He's a two guard who can't guard.
Yeah, I think his height is a huge issue.
He really cannot guard his opposite number, and it's really bad. It's in this league because the backcourts in the Western Conference are really good, and you can't be that much of a defensive liability. That's exactly why you can't be that much of a liability when you're facing off against Klay Thompson and Steph Curry and James Harden and Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook. You just can't have that hole there. It's glaring. It's not just he's okay, and even if he's really bad on defense.
Yeah. So I'm a bit critical of some of just kind of staying like that, but I get it. If that's what they want to be, then that's completely fine.
And if you look outside their stars, who else are they going to trade? Evan Turner on that contract, $17.5 million, negative asset.
Yeah, they're
Myers Leonard, huge negative asset. And there are few positive assets that they have. They're important role players like Aminu. I guess the only actual assets they'd be willing to trade are the players they just drafted,
Collins
and Zach Collins. Yeah.
Is their strategy to wait for those 2016 contracts to finish up?
I feel like
so in 2020, that's when they're going to go after it.
I feel like that's what they're doing. Because the Blazers got screwed kind of hard by 2016, so like a lot of teams did. But anyway, letting Ed Davis walk, I kind of didn't like it because I thought Ed Davis was very effective for them. He usually played center for them, right?
Well, Nurkic was there.
Oh, I mean,
yeah, he played power forward.
Okay, yeah, But I don't know. At least maybe like if Ed Davis walks, like you can give Zach Collins some more playing time. I don't know if they played the same position, but I think Zach Collins was usually like their backup center in the playoffs, right? Or,
Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing more Zach Collins this year.
yeah,
Extremely talented player.
yeah,
Yeah, he is.
yeah. I really like Zach Collins. I thought he was great at Gonzaga. I think he was like he was one of the very few one and done players come out of Gonzaga. And yeah, that guy is good. He's definitely like the sort of center that you want going forward into like this era of the NBA.
I almost
So
feel like he's what you wish Myers Leonard turned out to be.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, that was such a bad deal. Jeez.
yeah, yeah. Zach Collins is that guy, and he's like at this point way more useful than Myers Leonard. And Myers Leonard just kind of like dead
Myers
money,
Leonard really got paid over a playoff game.
pretty much.
Hey, Myers Leonard is a 50, 40, 90 player. I'm just
Stop,
saying.
stop.
I mean, doesn't meet the requirements for like number of shots, but he is a 50, 40, 90 player.
Right, sure. Um. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about the offseason. So we talked about Dame and CJ not getting shot. They talked about pretty much think that they are around the same level as they were last year, guys. Pretty much the same.
Yeah, maybe even a little bit worse because I think a lot of the teams around them improved a lot more than they did.
I see. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Do you think Dame is like really sold on the Blazers, like he actually really wants to stick around, or do you think he's just talking to talk?
I think he wants to be the hero of the Blazers.
Yeah, I could see that.
I agree.
I think that's there for him, but
yeah, I think he does kind of want to be the hero of the Blazers, and he wants to be around like in case like the day ever comes. Maybe he is also like everyone else, just waiting for those 2016 contracts to come off the books and then get some like real help.
Yeah,
maybe.
well, I mean, he's already like I know it feels like he was drafted yesterday, but he's already 28.
That's true. So I guess his time's kind of running out. But like, I mean, in a few years he'll be like 31, so you'll still like be that guy, you know?
Oh yeah. But you can't exactly go to another team when you're that old and you spent so long in your previous franchise. Such a ring chasing move. It kind of, you wouldn't really get any respect for that ring,
Yeah. I think he would like rather. I think what he wants the most is at least to be a playoff contender. Like he doesn't want to be to not have home court advantage in the first round. He just wants to be out there, and I don't think it doesn't seem like he's really anxious to win a championship like other stars these days.
Yeah, I agree. Especially
he just
since
wants the Blazers to be his team and just like show that they can still be a force in this league.
Yeah, I think I touched on it a little bit last time in that I think a lot of players now, especially all-star players, are kind of settling for being the guy because winning a ring kind of seems impossible.
Yeah.
Well, if they just join together, then they can win a ring.
Yeah, but then they'd have to take pay cuts like the Warriors.
The Warriors don't really take pay cuts.
I mean,
Well, then they can't turn back time and all get drafted together, can they?
No.
yeah. So we also looking at the PDF, we also talked about Seth Curry dynamic a little bit. I think he can definitely potentially be a little bit better than Shabazz Napier was in that role, and Shabazz was very good last year. So we'll have to see how he handles that. But he did well in Dallas, so hopefully if he comes back from that injury well, he can kind of be that guy for them coming off the bench. We talked about Zach Collins a little bit in terms of the young guys. I think we all really like him. He's the kind of center that you want in today's NBA. What about Caleb Swanigan? I like him a lot. I think he's a good, high energy, great defensive guy. I think he deserves like a few spot minutes this year. I think he can be interesting. What about you, Ming? I think you were talking about him earlier.
Yeah, I think Caleb Swanigan is why they didn't re-sign Ed Davis. Because they pretty much do the same thing.
Right.
And that's kind of like Ed Davis's career. Like the Lakers, he was being paid pretty good, and came along Tark Black, who was being paid 1/5 of what Ed Davis was already getting paid. So like they just let him walk to also there.
Yeah, makes sense. What about you, Nigel?
Yeah, he's just like you said, sort of an energy guy at power forward, which I think a lot of teams kind of like nowadays. He's gonna bang in there and he's gonna provide defensive energy and maybe just like get the team going if they're like a little bit slow. Like obviously he's not gonna be like scoring or anything like that, but I think he's good to have around the team. Like maybe by the end of the season he could maybe come close to doing what Ed Davis is doing, but honestly I don't really rate him that highly.
That's fair. Yeah, it's always good to have an energy guy around. What about you, Jimmy?
I mean, he's good. I think he should be. He's a relatively young player. He has good potential. I watched him in college a lot. They couldn't stop talking about how he used to be like fat and he got like in shape, and then he's really good now. So hopefully, like he can do pretty well for them. But I mean, he's still kind of raw as a player, but he's definitely athletic and definitely can get up there and be a good defender.
Yeah, that's my main problem with him, that he has no sort of outstanding skill. And I think that makes it hard to be a player in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, if there's always there's always like, I guess I wouldn't say always, but there's usually a place for a guy who's like decent at a lot of things and just like plays hard and with a lot of energy.
I mean, if you want an example of a guy who is, if you want an example of a guy who is literally only motor, that's Ken Freed, and I don't think he's going to really get much playing time this season.
Caleb's much bigger than Ken Freed, though.
Maybe if Swang went to Michigan State instead of Purdue.
Yeah.
That's just my college bias, because he like decommitted from like Purdue or from Michigan State to go to Purdue and did like almost nothing at Purdue.
That's dirty.
Oh, he did nothing in the NBA last season either.
Yeah.
Okay, so Anthony Simons. I haven't watched him much. Has anybody taken a look at him?
I mean,
Not really,
like
no.
I've seen a few highlights, and I think that's the type of player that you want to take if you're the Trailblazers and you have like a kind of poor pick in the mid-20s first round. Someone who's a bit of a project, but could turn out to be really good.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Because he's young. He's really young.
How old?
And I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. He was one of the youngest players in the draft, but also one of the most athletic.
Yeah, that's never a bad thing to have for.
Yeah, he's 19.
Okay, yeah, it is pretty young. Yeah, it's never a bad thing to just kind of have around, So that's pretty good. What about any kind of lineup ideas or any potential lineup things that you'd want to see from the Blazers? I'll start with one that I kind of want to see. I want to see some interesting stuff with this is going to be so bad defensively, but I want to see some 3-guard lineups with McCollum, Dame, and Seth Curry.
I actually quite like that.
Yeah, I know. I want to see that. I want to see how well that works. Like, I want to see if they get like completely chopped up on defense, which I'd expect them to, because like they're all like fairly small, can't defend. Like, I don't even think anybody on that line, anybody on that 3-guard thing is like bigger than 6'4". So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see just because they can all shoot and kind of be dynamic on the offense. And
I think that's pretty hard to guard. That's the main thing. You just kind of hope it's harder to guard than they're having trouble guarding on the other side.
Yeah, I also want to see Dame play without CJ. Except I want to see him like some Dame and Seth Curry, no CJ lineups.
Yeah, I think Seth can provide a lot of what CJ provides, and that Seth's a really good scorer, not necessarily as good a passer as Lillard, which is kind of the same for McCollum.
Yeah, so I want to see that.
McCollum's a far better scorer than Seth too, but
yeah, that's like the main thing I'm curious about. Any other ideas, guys?
I think they do stagger minutes between Lillard and McCollum anyway, so we will get either of them with Seth Curry.
Yeah, for sure.
I wonder what
lineup. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. I just wonder what they're going to do with Evan Turner.
Yeah.
Oh, that's literally what I was about to ask.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Same thing they've been doing with him all this time. I mean, Evan Turner can still play.
I mean, but like, I mean, even on like the depth chart on Roto World, they don't have him starting on here. He played 2,000 minutes last season, so it's like, do you put him to be a starter, or do you put him just to be that guy you're gonna have to keep playing a ton because the players you have aren't good enough? You have to play him because he's just that like he's just consistent enough to be like okay.
No, he's not going to start, but he's going to get starter minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Evan Turner?
Getting paid all that money.
Yeah.
No, he will get like 20 minutes a game, 25 minutes a game. No one on the third most minutes played was Alfaro Camino at 30 minutes. And then after that, no one was over 25 or 26 minutes per game. So nobody's getting, like, only 3 players are getting.
I mean, Evan
started.
Turner only had 40 less minutes than he did last season.
I could see them running against weaker defensive teams like the 3-guard lineup I mentioned, and then lining it out with like Yusuf Nurkic and then Al-Farouq Aminu on the front court. I think that could be interesting. I think we're gonna see a lot of Al-Farouq Aminu and Nurkic in the front court. Is that the starting front court? Would it be?
Yes.
I mean, and
Yeah.
Nurkic, yeah.
Yeah,
And I think
It
they're
better
back
be.
on the court of like Collins and Swanigan is actually like a better combo than I was originally thinking Swanigan's situation was going to be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Swanigan and Collins together off the bench kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah, I would like to see that too. I think
And you add Evan Turner to it and Seth Curry, and
yeah,
it's not a bad bench.
yeah, that could do some things. I could definitely see that. So there are some nice lineup ideas, and we like to see them run those. Let's move on to like win number ballpark, so like plus or minus 2, whatever number, and then one crazy maybe prediction. I'll start. I think they're gonna win. I think they're gonna sneak in an 8th seed, and so like, and I know they were 3rd seed last year, but when Nigel and I were talking about this earlier, how 3rd seed and 9th seed last year are basically the same thing, and it's probably gonna happen again in the West this year. So
That's because of Minnesota, by the way.
what?
That's because of Minnesota, dude. Like, who just like
it would be 3rd seed. It would be 3rd seed. The 10th seed are gonna be the same thing, but then Minnesota just died. So, yeah, 3rd seed and 9th seed are gonna be about the same thing. I think they're gonna sneak in an 8th seed with about 45 wins. I think maybe plus or minus a couple, and then crazy prediction. Ooh. I was gonna say Zach Collins starts by the end of the year, but I think that might be a little bit too crazy. Yeah. Let me actually say the 3-guard lineup of McCollum, Lillard, and Seth Curry has a top 5 net rating in terms of 3-man lineups.
I mean, I could see maybe offensive rating, but
okay, offensive. Okay, let's say offensive rating. Instead of net rating, because they're going to be absolutely terrible in defense. But
yeah, because top 5 offensive is crazy, but it's not as crazy as net.
Okay, actually, let's make it even better. Top 3 offensive rating. That 3-guard lineup's gonna have. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I agree with you on like the win ballpark. I think they're still a 500 team, like above 500.
For sure.
So yeah, 45, 46 wins, but I don't see them going much above it, especially with how the West has improved, and actually how the East has improved too.
Low key. What about any predictions?
For me, I'm less optimistic about them than you guys are. I believe they're going to start the season relatively bad, and I think they're going to probably trade McCollum by the mid-season, by the trade deadline. I think.
What about win number ballpark?
I'm thinking. I guess I would say around 500. I just don't think this team is very good, and I think they always they're always in that one year where they do like you think they do well, and they're maybe building that, and they come back flat. They had this before, so I'm not about. I think they're going to probably be like maybe an 8 seed if that.
So
like
they're
500
so
team.
they're like good, but not West good, I guess.
No, yeah, I guess even like that. Yeah, I guess. Oh, I mean, even with Nigel said, the East seemed better. I wouldn't even say they're maybe going to be that good. They could just be like okay, like average team.
Yeah. What about you, man?
I think they will play like as a team really well. I think you guys are too pessimistic on these predictions. I think they're gonna make like 46 wins, and that'll be enough for the 6th or 5th seed in the West.
Okay.
I think that's where they are. But I also do think that they're gonna be part of some trades by the deadline.
Yeah, I can see that. You already mentioned your win total, Nigel. I got a prediction.
As far as prediction goes, yeah, I think we're gonna see some kind of crazy trade before the deadline for them.
Okay, I feel that. Yeah, a trade will make a lot of sense for them to get a little bit better before the playoffs roll around and perhaps make it past the first round this time. So that actually makes great sense.
There was a story a few days ago about McCollum just said that he's going to be off the ball when they're in the second unit as well. So he's not going to be the primary ball handler when they have a second unit out there. It's probably going to be Seth Curry.
That makes sense. Seth Curry's the point guard. Okay, so that'll close it for the Portland Trailblazers. Let's move on to our last team here, the Denver Nuggets. So Denver Nuggets, that's the team Nigel's a fan of, by the way. So we'll be hearing a lot from them.
Yeah, this is my specialty subject.
Yes, so we'll be hearing a great bit from them about the Nuggets. So just to kind of read off, yes, just to kind of read off the offseason moves. Nuggets drafted Michael Porter Jr. at spot 14. Isaiah Whitehead and multiple traded player exceptions were required by the Nuggets from the Brooklyn Nets in exchange for Darrell Arthur, which they traded away, Fareed, and the conditional 2019 first round pick, and a 2020 second round pick. So basically, big salary jump. And
yeah, by the way, Isaiah Whitehead got cut, so
okay,
the Nuggets got nothing for that.
yeah. So yeah, and they also signed Isaiah Thomas to a minimum contract deal, traded Wilson Chandler into Philadelphia's cap space, re-signed Torrey Craig, and signed Nikola Jokic to a maximum deal. So, first of all, I won't start with you, Nigel. Can you explain the mechanics of that salary dump trade?
The mechanics of that salary dump. Okay. Well, it's actually just fairly simple. Brooklyn have space, but when you're under the cap only by a little amount, your cap kind of gets artificially shortened. So that's why they needed to trade Whitehead back, so that the trade makes sense. It's so you can't pretend you're under the cap when by the time you fill out your roster, you're actually above the cap. It's pretty simple like that. And it's pretty much just, Darrell Arthur and Kenneth Fareed combined is about 20 million worth of dead money. Right. And for the price of a first round pick and a second round pick swap, which, second round pick swap, who cares?
Right.
But I think the main thing that Denver shouldn't have done in that trade is that pick is top 12 protected instead of top 14 protected. If Denver just misses the playoffs like last season,
very easily in the West.
Oh, very easily. They could lose a lottery pick here in a salary dump.
Is that assuming Michael Porter Jr. plays, or is that without him?
That's irregardless of Michael Porter Jr. Really.
It doesn't really matter. It matters like if Denver doesn't make the playoffs and they're like the 9th seed, they might still lose their pick.
They're almost definitely going to lose their pick if they're the 9th.
Yeah, so like it would have. So like Nigel's point is that the pick probably should have been lottery protected, so that in case Denver doesn't make the playoffs, then at least you get a lottery pick and as consolation. But now you're in a position where, well, we made the point earlier how 3rd seed and 9th seed in the West are essentially the same thing, and if you lose one game at the end of the season, you end up as a 9th seed, kind of like what happened last year. Then you don't even get a lottery pick as consolation.
Yeah, like imagine what the T-Wolves situation would be like right now if they just drafted Michael Porter Jr. instead.
Pretty much.
Things would be a lot rosier
there. Do they
there.
presume they're still going to be bad this year then? Is that what the thinking was?
No, the reason Denver did this is because they think they're going to be good, and the reason Brooklyn did this is because the chance of them being bad is fine. I'm pretty sure the pick will become like less protected over time. So it's not a huge deal. Like Brooklyn's going to get it eventually.
Right.
Right.
So if it doesn't convey this in 2019, what will Brooklyn get?
I'm not sure exactly. But it'll probably be a lot of the same sort of deal where it goes to like top 5 protected, like top 1
Okay.
protected.
What's the protection this year?
The protection this year is top 12.
Okay, so they can. It looks like it will convey. Because
What?
It'll most likely convey, I think.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think Nuggets are more likely to make the playoffs than not make them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're most likely to be better than the 12 because. So the Nuggets were the 9th last year, and then we already talked about.
Top 12 protected means, look, if the Nuggets make the playoffs, they will have a pick in the 20s.
Yes, so it's not. It will convey.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm thinking of it. My bad. You're right.
So like
It will
if
likely convey.
with last year's record, it would have conveyed.
Yes.
So like we already did all the playoff teams except for Utah. So we already all agree that Minnesota is most likely to drop out of the playoffs,
Right.
and the Lakers will also will be in the playoffs. LeBron is not missing the playoffs, so
Yeah.
one other team has to drop for Denver to make the playoffs.
Well, I think Denver's going to be good enough to be able to make the playoffs, even if it means pushing out another team, like some other team in the West that made it last year.
Like the Spurs,
Not
Pelicans?
Not this, like the Pelicans, maybe.
It's difficult because last season every team in the playoffs or just missed them struggled with a lot of injuries, except the Trailblazers.
No, the Trailblazers actually.
Okay,
I think-
Lillard was
yeah.
injured for 7 games down the stretch, and their team turned out awful. Yeah, but that hardly counts compared to Minnie missing Butler for ages, Utah missing Gobert for ages, Nuggets missing Millsap, the Clips missing everyone, Spurs missing Kawhi.
So, do you see them as a playoff team at all?
I do.
Yeah, Nuggets have to make the playoffs this season. If they don't, then there's going to be a lot of questions asked.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like what kind of questions?
Should the coach be there? Should Gary Harris, Jamal Murray be there? Like those kind of questions.
So the coach gets fired before
Moving players, of course.
moving players. So should the coach be there? Because it seems like he shouldn't.
I mean, it's kind of tough because like he has. I mean, like last season wasn't even like awful, but there are definitely some points where you just like kind of scratch your head at some of the decisions that Michael Malone was making.
Like playing Jokic at power forward for half the season.
Yeah, there was that for sure.
What do you think about Trey Lyles playing at small forward?
I don't think he can defend small forwards. He's not quick enough. Obviously, like he could attack small forwards pretty well, just because he's as tall as shit and he's a good shooter. But I don't really think he can play the 3. We can talk about like other options to play the 3 in Denver if you like.
I've heard Wancho's name thrown around.
Yeah, I think Wancho is much more of an option to play the 3. Just because he's a lot more of a tweener than Trey Lyles.
Right.
He doesn't have as much strength as Lyles, which makes him kind of easier to play at the 3. And Wancho's more of a corner shooter than Trey Lyles. Trey Lyles can kind of do a bit of isolation scoring, back to the basket kind of stuff. But Wancho isn't doing that. He's just gonna be a easy money sniper.
I see what you did there. So let's talk about Isaiah Thomas. What are we kind of expecting from him this year? What do you think he's going to bring to the team? What are your thoughts on that, Nigel?
I'm very scared. Because he's not going to start.
Right.
He's never going to start.
Of course.
I mean, even if he's averaging 20 points a game, he might not start.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're always gonna start like Gary Harris and Jamal
Yeah,
over him. So
exactly. Those guys, and I mean, the part of me that makes me not scared is that Isaiah Thomas knows this is his last chance to get
right,
actually paid
right.
to prove that he's not broken.
Hero baller.
Exactly, yeah. But the part of me that's scared is, what if he is broken? What if he does to the Nuggets what he did to the Cavs?
Then you don't have a backup point guard, is what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I mean, there are some younger guys that I think can move into that role, but I think as far as risks goes, there's not that much, especially on a minimum deal. Like, he's not going to come back next season.
What do you mean he's not gonna come? Oh, okay. You mean the season after?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I don't think, like, even if he's a shadow of his former self, that's
Right.
still worth the mid-level exception.
Yeah, and you got him on a minimum, so like, it's fine, I guess. And if he's just like really awful, then I guess you can just play Malik Beasley. I
Hey,
don't know.
no, you can cut him. You
Oh
can
yeah,
just
that too.
cut
That
him
too.
if he's not good.
Oh yeah, that too. Um. Okay. I mean, yeah, I tend to agree. Like, I think it's a fine risk to take. And well, it's not really a risk, actually. I'm not going to use that word. It's not really a risk, and it's like, I mean, if he is at least sort of better than what he is on the Cavs, and he doesn't like cause any issues in the locker room, which you hope he doesn't, then it's a completely fine signing. And like, you might even get like 11, 12 points per game from him on like slightly efficient shooting from him off the bench. And hey, maybe he'll even have like some like 20 something point nights like he did with the Lakers and during it with being
Exactly. I
sent there.
think that's kind of the hope, that you can bring him in and maybe he can save 1 or 2 games this season.
Yeah. Yeah. He used to be the king of the fourth like 10 years ago or something like that. So, yeah, I mean, that's completely fine. Jimmy or Meng, any thoughts on Isaiah Thomas?
He really needs to do something this year.
Yeah. Yeah, for his own sake he needs to. Like, that's obvious. But like, do you think he's going to like do okay with the team just like on paper at least?
You hope, because you don't want to see this be his last shot and like to be his end of his like career. But I mean, I don't know how well it's going to work, because unless I guess they'll just play him to back up, I guess, Jamal
Mhm.
Murray, or maybe play him like off ball potentially. I'm not sure, but
He's
he
probably going to
just
be the
seems
point guard
like,
off the bench, so he's going
yeah.
to be handling the ball a lot.
So I mean, yeah. So I guess he just will have to handle the ball when Jamal Murray gets a spell.
What about you, Mang? He was on the Lakers last year. So what do you think about him during that stretch, and what can he kind of tell Denver
Metaphorically on the
people
Lakers, maybe.
to expect
Yeah,
from
he
him?
was okay on the when he came to the Lakers. Like, he's not an all-star anymore, but like coming off the bench, like he played really well with Lonzo. Like, the stats were good, so
Mm.
I guess you could put him next
I
to
think he got like
a.
some surgery this offseason too. Like he had some
I
work
think
done on
so.
his. I think he had some work done on his hip this offseason. So maybe he's a little bit healthier. If he can at least be like slightly better than he was on the Lakers, or even just be Lakers Isaiah Thomas, then like that's probably fine.
Yeah, it's fine, and you're getting him for a really cheap contract. You're not. He's not on the. He's not the big part of the team.
Yeah, he's not gonna like change how successful your team
Like,
is.
if he's not good, it's okay. It's not it's a risk you can take.
Right.
But if he's good, that could
Yeah,
that
then
could
then then
change
he
you.
got then he got a really good player for pennies on the dollar,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. He could. A decent Isaiah Thomas can like add you by 3 or 4 wins, and in the West that can make the playoffs. That can get you from the 10th seed to the third seed in the West.
Yeah, just adding. Yeah, exactly. That's well put. Nigel, any opinions on Jokic to Nikola Jokic's new contract? Anything that was interesting that we should keep an
Um,
eye on there?
I believe it was a straight 5-year deal, no player options.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, so that's kind of the discount. Well, like, when you have a young player like this, you pretty much go, "Oh, Giannis took a discount, please." we need to put better players around you. And the discount the Jokic took here, it's actually a tiny bit under the max.
Okay.
And it's for 5 years, which gives the Nuggets the most control over him. Bear in mind, the Nuggets didn't have to pay Jokic this year. They had a team option on him. But they decided to pay him mostly because if they took that team option, because of the way,
Jokic
he would have become an
Yeah.
unrestricted free agent next year,
Yeah.
and he would have been gone, so fucking gone.
Yeah, that probably would have pissed him off a little bit.
Yeah, so I think that's the best option the Nuggets could hope for. When I was thinking about the contract he could sign, I was just hoping 5-year max, so you have as much time to build around him as possible.
Yeah, and then he took a little bit under that, so I mean, yeah. You know,
Exactly, yeah.
yeah, so that's completely fine. He's worth every penny of that. He's gonna be a building block for a long time. So one thing I also wanted to discuss was the small forward question. We talked a little bit about Wancho. I'm assuming Will Barton's gonna start at the 3.
Yeah, he signed his contract assuming he's going to start at the 3.
Yeah, it's just I kind of worry about like teams that have good small forwards. Like when you're playing against like OKC, or you're playing against.
I kind of worry against any team that has an actual small forward at small forward.
What do you mean?
Oh, okay, like Will Barton is under 200 pounds.
Oh my.
And he wants to play small forward.
Oh no.
Yeah, wasn't he a 2 guard for a while?
Yeah.
Yeah, he is a 2 guard.
Yeah, like,
but he's playing at the 3.
Mm-hmm.
So, what if you just like play more Gary Harris at small forward, go like really small and really fast?
Yeah, well,
But
that's going to
beefy.
be the plan, really. The thing, like playing Will Barton at the 3 is all right, just because of how long he is. That gives you some hope that he's able to defend some of the quicker 3s, but some of the thicker 3s, he's not going to be able to stand up to.
Yeah. Like, what options do you guys have against like 3s who are like a lot stronger there?
I guess like
Trey Lyles.
Yeah, Trey Lyles is an option at 3, but he's gonna like any small forward is gonna be far quicker than Trey Lyles. It's just unfortunate.
Yeah.
I guess if Michael Porter Jr. is fit, he's actually if you watch some of his highlights, he's definitely quick enough to play the 3.
Yeah.
If he plays this year.
Yeah, I mean, like Michael Porter's sort of comparison the whole time has been Kevin Durant.
I feel like I feel like any guy who's over 6'10", he's 6'10" and skilled is basically Kevin Durant these days.
Yeah, Wancho as well potentially can play the 3. Torrey Craig, he's on an actual NBA contract now. He was 2-way last season, so he could only play about 40 games. He was kind of the LeBron of the G League.
Interesting.
And it's quite funny how now he's in the NBA. He just kind of puts up like his 6 points, his 2 assists, and his 2 rebounds, and is like, yeah. But I mean, Torrey Craig's a respectable defender. He can hit open 3s. I mean, if I was actually coaching this team, I might actually start Torrey Craig because he's 6'7". He's actually like over 210, 15 pounds. And actually can defend some of the players. Like, maybe not right now, but over the course of the season, as he gets more used to the NBA, I think he can.
So you do like Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, Torrey Craig. I mean, Jamal, like Murray, Harris, Will Barton, Torrey Craig, and Jokic or something?
No, I play Millsap at the 4, obviously.
Oh, I'm stupid.
Okay. Everyone forgets the Nuggets have Millsap. It's all good.
Yeah. Murray, yeah. So Murray, Barton, Torrey Craig, Millsap, and then Jokic. Okay, yeah. I could kind of see that, and you just kind of let him defend. So
yes, as far as it goes at the 3, it's pretty much play 2s there or plays 4s there and pray for the best.
Yeah, it makes sense. So like I guess they're kind of that's going to be definitely a challenge from Coach Malone, just to kind of see how he can game by game how he can solve issues at the 3, especially if it's a team that has like a 3 who can really kind of work you. So that'll be interesting to watch.
For sure.
What about? Oh, so you made that point about why Jokic is apparently. So like, there's this opinion that everyone has that like the Nuggets aren't good on defense, which is true. But
Oh yeah.
you have the opinion that Jokic is actually a better defender than most people think. So I wanted you to explain that.
He's actually an above average defender.
Interesting.
Because I think when most reasonable people come to look at defense nowadays, they have the eye test and they have their statistics.
Right.
And if you go by the eye test, Jokic kind of looks like he sucks. People go past him extremely easily. They seem to score on him extremely easily. He looks just kind of slow and plodding.
Right.
And I think from that side of things, if you've watched any of his sort of social media, you see slim down quite a lot.
Yeah, he has.
So you think, okay, maybe he'll be a bit faster this season. But if you look at the advanced statistics, which for defense can't always be super reliable, but for him, they say he's a really good defender. Just because he does all the things that the eye test don't really notice. He's an incredible stealer, just because his hands are so good. Obviously you notice his hands are good on offense, just because how good a passer he is, how good he is at those sort of tippy-tappy rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
But on defense, it's the exact same. Oftentimes a player will go past him and he'll sort of reach around them and steal the ball cleanly.
Okay.
Which, this defensive stats also say that he doesn't contest well at the rim. What the stats don't say is that he doesn't foul at the rim like other centers.
Okay.
Which, that was a large problem for Jokic in earlier seasons, and it meant his percentage of the rim was a little bit better. But now he doesn't. I think the main problem why Jokic looks bad in defense is because Jamal Murray and Gary Harris struggle to get around screens. And even though Gary Harris is a good defender, he's still kind of small.
Right.
He's not going to be able to get through. They're getting better at it, but I think it's very much a team communication thing.
So, isn't the number of his field goal percentage at the rim allowed? Isn't it pretty bad though?
Oh yeah, it's abysmal. But again, that's because he doesn't compete at the rim. When there's no chance of him getting it. The defense, the thing is, when your stat that says defensive percentage allowed at the rim says you're awful, but your on-off percentage for defense says you're good, you've got to wonder, okay, is contesting at the rim when you're not going to get it really better than contesting? If you're going to play less and still go up the free throws anyway that they're likely going to hit.
Yeah, I see what you're trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah, Jokic is a smart defender, not necessarily an athletic one.
Okay.
And that's why he doesn't look so good on the eye test. But the statistics like him.
All right. That's that's insightful. So, that's good. We also had a topic talking about how good do we think this team can be on offense. We know that a lot of what this team does is based around just kind of shooting a lot of threes. The entire starting lineup is pretty capable of shooting. Paul Millsap's probably the worst shooter in that starting lineup, but even he can still hit his open shots and be fine at that. So this team could be really good on offense. Jamal Murray and Gary Harris are very dynamic players, and they can create a lot on their own. They can shoot, pull up, good at free throws. And Jokic, dude's an offensive beast. He passes guys open. He can knock down the three ball. We have Isaiah Thomas coming off the bench. We think maybe if he can have a little bit of a resurgence, that can help this Denver team on offense even more. So let's talk about how good we think this team can be on offense. Start with you, Nigel.
It's exactly what you just said. Almost every player on the team is an offensive specialist.
Right.
We have to start with Nikola Jokic. What other center gets triple doubles like him?
That's true.
Denver is such an interesting offensive team when they have a point center. I think the only other team in the league who's going to do that is the Lakers, and they're kind of cheating by playing LeBron at center.
Right. Yeah. He's not really like a center.
Exactly. Yeah, he's not. Yeah, especially not a slow, unathletic one like Jokic. The thing is, Jokic can pretty much do it all offensively. We talk about his passing, but what his passing opens up is really good post play. You can't double team Jokic when he posts up on you, and he's got incredibly good moves. I think Jokic is actually like top 98th percentile when it comes to efficiency on scoring on post moves, and he's actually quite high volume on those as well.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so offensive, and obviously he can hit threes. Like I don't know if you watched some of the sort of games near the end of last season where he was just pulling up and knocking down threes, especially in the Minnesota game at the end of last season. That was an offensive. He was just having a circus show that day.
Yeah, that last game against Minnesota. Yeah, that game was insane. Yeah, didn't he have like 30 something and like it was like a close to a triple double or something like that?
Yeah, he had an incredible. It was an incredible.
35. Yeah, it was 35, 10, and 3. Okay. So.
He's easily the best offensive center in the league, in my opinion.
Is it not Karl-Anthony Towns? Oh, okay. It's Nikola. It's Jokic.
Best passing center?
The best offensive center in the league.
Best offensive center.
Do we
not scoring individually. It's not for scoring individually, but in terms of like.
In terms of complete offensive skill set.
Impact on your offense.
In terms of generating points, no matter how those points are generated while he's on the floor.
It's Anthony Davis, man.
I mean, Anthony Davis can't pass like Jokic can, you know.
It doesn't matter.
I mean, it does matter because the guy, because you can't double team him. The guy's gonna find an open man all the time. He can knock down he can knock down threes. He's very
Anthony
good at
Davis
post moves.
And all those guys have him on defense. He is way better than them on offense. Like way better. That's the thing. Like you may not see it because they're dominant, but he is way better on offense than they are. Like just in general, like just passing the ball, playmaking, all of it. He's way better. I just think he is. So I think he's gonna be really good this year.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to watch between the three.
Yeah, I'd rather have Anthony Davis.
Even if Anthony Davis defended like Nikola Jokic?
Yes.
Okay, just checking.
It'll be interesting to see which center can prove to be the best this season. Towns, Jokic, and Davis.
I think something interesting about the Nuggets last season is I believe they had six players who scored double digits.
Like averaged?
Yeah, average double digits for the season.
Oh yeah.
Which it shows they know how to spread the ball, but I don't think that's going to be the case this season.
Really?
Yeah, I think we're going to see Jamal Murray take over a lot more of the offense. He's going to become a much better scorer.
That makes sense.
I don't know if you've seen a lot of the spark from other journalists talking about this sort of stuff, about how this is Jamal Murray's breakout season.
Yeah, I've gotten that vibe from the Nugget stuff that I've listened to.
Yeah, obviously I'm quite high on Jamal Murray. I'm not saying his ceiling is Steph Curry, but it's somewhere in that ballpark.
I definitely feel that. What about you, Mang and Jimmy? How good do you think this Nuggets team could be on offense?
I mean, they have a real good duo in their backcourt, so I think that's where you got to start with when you're in the Western Conference. Is if they have a good backcourt, you're probably going to be pretty confident on offense, and they have Jokic adding that to it. Like if you have some competent wingers over there, competent wing, and a 4 you can rely on, that's going to be a really good offensive team.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're going to be fine on offense. I mean, you have to think they're going to take the next step and be like in the middle of the playoff picture at least.
What about you, man? Thoughts?
If they do it right, I say top 7 offense.
Top 7 offense. Well, if you take it from December,
top 4 last year?
If you take it from December last season to the end of the season, they were the top offense in the league.
Okay.
That's when Nikola Jokic started playing center again.
They're behind Houston, Warriors, the Celtics.
Yeah, that's not from December.
I think he's just saying in general, in his mind, that that's who
in the
he thinks
playoffs.
is better. Yeah.
In the make-believe playoffs that they're in.
I think that's a really interesting thing to think about, how the Nuggets could do in the playoffs, because they've never been there. Could Jokic's style work in the playoffs?
Yeah, I'm interested.
Sure it can.
I mean, they'll probably do something. Go to the playoffs. You're playing the same team over and over again. It's not like it's a regular season game, so you're kind of just like doing a basic sort of like overview of this team. But I feel like in a playoff series, Jokic should either like be the player that's going to decide that series, or they're going to they're going to focus on him a lot and try to take him out of the series.
I think in a playoff series, they're not gonna like try and double team Jokic. What they'll try to do is to like.
I think they will though, because you want to see Jamal Murray and Gary Harris can carry that team.
I think like, okay, if Jamal Murray and Gary Harris, if they're cold, then yes, you double team Jokic every time, and if they're cold, they're out anyway, no matter what. But I think if they're still good, I think you try and trap those passing lanes, because like the passing lanes that the way Gary Harris and the other guy I just brain farted,
Jamal Murray.
Yeah, Jamal Murray, they will cut the same way. So if you like block those cutting lanes and anticipate the pass, then you don't need to double Jokic.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's a good reason Gary Harris is like top 3 in layup percentage in the league, like right beside Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving, and because he gets so many open ones. Jokic just finds him in the back door every time.
And it's not just Jokic finding him. Like Gary Harris knows when to go, where to go.
Yeah, it's smart by him.
Like he was
coaching right there.
Yeah, I just think that yeah, they're definitely is going to be very dynamic next year, and it's going to be quite the offense to watch. They're going to be at least top 2 or 3 on offense. They got to, just because of how good
I'm
they
glad
were.
I finally convinced you.
No, it makes a lot of sense because the metrics showed it last year. They were always like an incredible offensive team. They didn't even have Millsap for most of the year, and like you just gotta respect like how good Harris, Murray, and what's his name, Jokic and Barton are on offense.
The thing is, this is still a young team. They're gonna get they're just gonna naturally improve as well.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting there. So now close it off. I think we all expect them to make the playoffs. What kind of win total do we have? How do we think for them? And then a prediction. I'll start. I think they're gonna win. I'm feeling 47 wins from them. Somewhere from 5 to 7 seed, I'm thinking. And my prediction is they stay relatively healthy and have one of the best NBA offenses of all time.
I mean, I'm a fan of that prediction.
Yeah, I know. What about you, man?
44 wins. They're not making the playoffs.
Oh my.
I don't. I'm looking at who from last year won't make the playoffs, and I just don't see anyone. Unless an injury to the playoff teams from last year, minus Minnesota.
I just think they have to if Paul Millsap stays healthy. I just think they got to. Because even after Paul Millsap missed all that time last year, like they were only 1 game from not making it. I just think they got to if they stay healthy.
I don't see them better than other playoff teams.
I don't know. I think they're gonna be pretty good, but you can have your opinion, I guess.
Coach Mike Malone gets fired. That's the other.
I think that's a good crazy prediction.
Yes, that's a decent crazy prediction actually. What about you, Jimmy?
I think Nigel's convinced me that they're going to be really good, and I think they're going to at least be a top 5 seed in the playoffs.
Okay. What about
and
when?
I think Win total, I would say in the mid-50s at least.
Oh.
Wow.
Mid-50s?
Okay, mid-50s was
Mid-50s is
Golden.
like
bear in
top
mind the
4
Warriors
seed.
were in the mid-50s last season.
Yeah, mid-50s is like a top 3 seed, dude.
Mid-50s is the second seed. Golden State Warriors were 58 wins last season.
Yeah. I mean, if you're all in, sure, but I just want to make sure you didn't make a mistake. You didn't mean mid-40s or something.
No.
Which he is all
I like
in.
it. You can almost count
Overrated.
that prediction in itself.
So they're the third best team in the West.
Yes.
They're
like
they're
it,
top
yeah.
5 team in the NBA. Top 6.
I think they have the players for it.
I don't think it's crazy.
Before.
I don't think it's crazy.
Yeah,
Houston 65 wins. Warriors
I mean,
58 wins.
I don't think Houston's winning 60 games.
Look at it. You have the Warriors and you have the Houston Rockets. Who's the third best team in the West? Do you think the Lakers, the Wolves,
Jazz, the Spurs? Who knows?
The
I mean, like
Thunder.
all these teams that were kind of underwhelming last year in the playoffs.
The Thunder
So-
could get there. I don't know.
That's why I'm saying. That's why I believe that the offensive carries in this league. I think the Nuggets could get there pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I'm not mad at that. I like that's bold. I like it. What about you, Nigel?
I kind of agree, actually. I think the Nuggets are set up to be a really good regular season team, and next season I expect them to win maybe like 90% of their home games.
Oh yeah, they're gonna be very good at home.
I mean, if they're gonna get to that sort of mid-50s range, it's pretty much going to be like the last George Karl season where they got third seed.
Yeah, they're gonna like have to only lose like 5 home games.
Bring George back.
You know what?
hey, he got coach of the year and then got fired. So actually,
The
no, he got
Nuggets-
fired first.
The Nuggets' special home court advantage will be less and less valuable
I think
as we go into the future.
the Nuggets still run and gun quite a fair bit, and the stats show that the home advantage is still there. But yeah, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying in terms of like fitness and science
Yes.
sort of goes. As far as wins, I'm actually not that optimistic. I'm thinking maybe like 48, 49 wins.
That's pretty fair.
Yeah, maybe like 5th, 6th seed with that.
Yeah, that's about where I am with them. Yeah.
And crazy prediction: Paul Millsap gets traded.
Why would
That's
they
a good
do
one.
Why would they do that when they can just decline his option next season?
Because he's a huge. Well, teams would want him for a lot of reasons. You know, 1, he's a good player. 2, he's a huge expiring. Like if you could trade him for good players on longer contracts, that say like a team wants cap space, but all they have is like good role players on like bigger contracts over a longer period of time.
Miami.
Mike Conley.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mike Conley.
Potentially, like if Jamal Murray's not taking the leap, then yeah, perhaps even that.
I like that. It makes a lot of sense if you think about it.
It's meant to be a crazy prediction, but one that still makes a little bit of sense.
It does. I like that. That's solid. All right, so I think we wrapped up everything on the Denver Nuggets there. That will pretty much conclude the pod. Thank you for tuning in, listening, and I also like to give a big thank you to my guests and new guest we got here, Nigel. Thanks a lot for coming on. Yeah, so we will be back soon. Tomorrow the preseason starts. We'll probably be back soon with a few more teams. Might talk about the Pacers, Sixers next time. Head over to the East. So yeah, we will be back with the pod later.
Later.